Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to start a new series on my channel kind of called like Motherly Confessions or New Mom Confessions. Something where it's just like a series where I talk about a whole bunch of things that were worrying me or concerning me while I was pregnant or when I just thought about becoming a mom, and kind of like debusting those myths and whatnot and giving you my experience and what I've learned so far in my 1 month of being a mother. So today I wanted to talk about my C-section, and I feel like C-sections are kind of like a voodoo pregnancy thing. I feel like no one wants to have a C-section, and everyone has these horrible stories on how they ended up having a C-section and the horrible recovery and everything that's just associated with having a C-section. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background about my pregnancy and how I wound up having a C-section. And so if you're interested in this, or if you are interested in this series in general, please let me know, because I really want to pursue it, and I just want to know if you guys are on board too. Okay, so back to my C-section experience. So it has been 3 weeks, it'll be a month and a couple of days since I had Mariah. And it was a planned C-section, so that's going to be the only thing that's going to be a variable, I believe, in this, because I know a lot of C-sections happen because of emergencies. Mine was a planned C-section, and that was because Mariah was breached. Her feet were not up, her head was not down, and that was around 36 weeks. And they told us around this time that the position the baby is in now is most likely the position that she will stay in, since she is so large. Not like abnormally large, since babies are just large at that time and they don't have the space to maneuver around like they would have previously. So whatever position your baby is around that time is most likely the position they're going to stay. Of course, there's a chance that they can move, but that's not really likely. So what you can do if your baby is breached is you can have an external cephalic version, which is what I had, and it's basically a procedure where you just lay down and you're not drugged up or anything, although you can ask for an epidural. I did not want that because I was terrified of an epidural, so I just preferred that they do the cephalic version naturally. And it's just a doctor and a midwife pressing and putting a lot of pressure on certain areas around the baby, so to try and maneuver her to move and try to like coast her to move. They're not going to force your baby to move because that can be really dangerous. So if your baby's not budging at all, they're not going to keep doing it because it can cause an emergency, and you could possibly need a C-section right then if the baby's heart rate does drop. So it's kind of a doctor and a baby need to come together to make it work experience. And I had that, and Mariah, she did not want to move whatsoever. She would move a little bit and she'd fall right back into the same place. So a C-section was scheduled on the day I hit 39 weeks, which was April 19th. So that is Mariah's birthday. So April 19th, I will just start in the morning. I have the birth vlog up if you guys want to see kind of like the whole overall experience. But I'm going to talk about the nitty-gritty, the C-section, the procedure, what happened after, what sucked the most, just that stuff. So we were supposed to be there at 6:30. We got there probably 7-ish. I was running late, but the first thing they did was put in an IV, and then we just had a constant flow of nurses come in just to ask if we were okay, kind of give us a little bit of a rundown of what's going to happen the morning, or this morning. So everything was good. I was pretty nervous at the time. You are not allowed to eat or drink midnight the night prior, so I was completely thirsty. I was ready to get this thing going. Of course I was nervous, this is my first child after all. So they just put in an IV, and we waited around till 7:30. Around like 7, probably like 7:10, you get to see the anesthesiologist. So this is what happened. This is completely my experience, and this might not happen at every hospital, but here at a Navy hospital is the one that I gave birth at. The anesthesiologist was kind of like the rock behind this procedure. She's the one who performs the Spinal Tap, which is kind of like the basis to have a C-section. So I really wanted to talk to her. Of course I was scared, like terrified of the Spinal Tap. So she really was awesome. She really just sat by like my side. She was in between CJ and I, and she was just talking to us about everything that's gonna happen, what's it's gonna feel like. She made me sign like a release form, and she went over like everything that could possibly happen and what she does to prevent all those horrible things from happening, because a C-section is not like an easy procedure. Basically, they just cut into your stomach and they tear apart your ab muscles, and they cut through the uterus and a few linings of muscle to actually get to the baby. So it's not something to be taken lightly, and her job was to actually numb me up. So she talked to us. She was kind of like my rock throughout the whole thing, because she would be the one communicating to me while the doctors were actually performing the procedure, what's happening and when it's happening and what I should be expecting. So she told me that possibly after the procedure I could get really itchy, and she told me that there's a good possibility that I was going to get very sick, like throw up sick during the actual procedure, because they're moving a lot of stuff around, like organs, to kind of get to the baby, and that motion causes a lot of people to get nauseous. So she told us a lot of these things. She really made me feel comfortable. Well, as comfortable as I was gonna get after all. And then she just basically, I signed the release form, and then that was it. CJ had to change into scrubs because he could not be allowed in the procedure or in the operating room until like he was fully unscrubbed. And yeah, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so after I signed the release form, we waited around for a couple of more minutes, and then they asked me if I would like to walk to the operating room or if they wanted to wheel me. And since I was aware that I wasn't going to be walking like as soon as the procedure was over, I wanted to walk, because I'm not one of those people who can just like sit down forever. I like to be up, I like to be moving, I like to be doing things. So I chose to walk there. So you can't have any jewelry on, you're completely naked, you're in the hospital gown, and their operating room is like right down the hall. So we all walked down there, the nurse, the anesthesiologist, the doctor. There was like a team of like 4 badass women like running the pregnancy ward. So we all walked down there. Along the way, we dropped CJ off in the waiting room, so he was fully scrubbed up in the waiting room, and we continued to the operating room. So in the operating room, it was really cold, it was really clean, it was really white. It was definitely something that you would see out of like a TV show. So when you walked in, they already had like 2 nurses there prepping. And the doctor and the anesthesiologist advised me to get on the bed and to sit over the side and to lean forward. So she wanted me to lean forward, put my chin to my chest, and relax my shoulders as she looked at my back. So me leaning over allowed her, excuse me, she could see more of my back, so she knows she can get the spinal tap in at the first try. So this is what I was most scared about, was the spinal tap. I do not like needles. And you know, you just gotta go for it. So I asked her what it would feel like, and she said it would feel like a bee sting, and that's pretty accurate. When I leaned over, the nurses came and they put their hands on my shoulders to really like comfort me, and I don't know, it was really nice. But yeah, it was really uncomfortable. It didn't hurt, and of course she advised me when she was gonna do it, so I was preparing myself. It's not like a random poke, you know, because I was really scared of that. So it was just a really good communication between her and I and the other nurses, and it felt like a bee sting. Even though I've never been stung by a bee, I can only imagine that's what it feels like. It just felt like a tingle, pressure, and then a tingle out to other parts of your body. And I remember just sitting there and telling them that, oh my gosh, this feels really odd. This is really weird. And then you could feel the tingle, and then you could feel your legs start to get really heavy, and then you're done. So that was like the scariest part. So after that was done, I was like, whew. And now I just started getting nervous, because like at this point, no one really, like, all you do, you lay there. You lay there, girlfriend. And it's not the best thing ever. So they pull your legs over to the side, because obviously you can't move them, and then you lay down. So you have your arms out to the side of you. You have stuff going on in this hand. You have the anesthesiologist up by your head. And then from like your boobs up, well, from like right below your boobs, there's this curtain blocking everything. So you can't really see what's going on. So you're just laying there. They were really cool, and they let me play a playlist. So I chose to have like Adele playing, because she's really soothing to me. So the anesthesiologist set that up on my phone, and she was really communicating to me everything that the doctors were doing in preparation, or when I should begin to feel things. So as I was laying there, Like as soon as they put my legs back over and stuff, she started poking around my stomach and asking me if I could feel this, if I could feel that. And I didn't feel anything. I think she did a really good job. She said she was gonna numb me from like below the boobs down, but I think she kind of got a little too high because I felt like my chest was kind of numb too. But I don't remember if I could use my hands or not. I feel like, I don't know, I don't remember. But at this point, she said they inserted a catheter, which I was really scared about that too, but you know, I didn't feel it. So they inserted the catheter, and then the doctors, they got busy doing what they do. She told me some part in time where, she told me when things started getting like serious, she was like, okay, they're gonna be doing this now. I don't remember what she said. But they did forewarn me that when they started moving the organs that I would get sick, and by God, I got sick. I remember just, because you can't really do anything besides like turn your head to the side and puke in this little tray they have by your head, and that's what I was doing. I was like hurling, and you don't have anything, it's just like acid that's coming up, but I could only describe it as like motion sickness. And then also laying there before all that started, I forgot to mention, once you feel like your legs are numb, I guess I was really anxious. I was like scared, I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous, I couldn't move, and so I started getting like an anxiety attack, I feel. And I'm not one to get an anxiety, but I can only imagine that that's what an anxiety attack feels like. Yeah, I just started getting really nervous. I told her, I was like, the anesthesiologist, I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm freaking out right now. And I think she put something in my IV because I remember like calming down after that. But yeah, I kind of freaked out. But yeah. So yeah, I got really sick. And I remember just laying there puking, and she was like, it's almost time, it's almost time. Adele's song, He Won't Go, was playing. They brought CJ in. And she was like, okay, are you ready to see your baby? And I said yes. And they pulled down the curtain and they lifted Mariah out of me. And of course she was all gooey and stuff, but you don't really feel anything. You feel them moving around, you feel pressure, but in no way is it pain whatsoever. It just feels odd. And I feel like that's the best way I can describe it. I wish someone would have said that to me, because I was just scared. I had no idea what to expect. The sensation is just odd. It's strange. No pain whatsoever. It's just weird. So when they pulled the baby out, of course, like CJ was already at my head at the time. He's probably been for like 5 minutes. They only bring the dad in when things are about to get really serious. So serious as in like the baby's coming out. So Mariah was lifted out, and then CJ and I remember we just like looked at each other and we started crying. Well, he told me this. I don't remember this at all. But he told me that, and then they take her away and they do a little bit of things, but she's still in the same room with you. And then they call the dad over, and the dad gets to trim up the umbilical cord, because of course they cut it pretty far back to release her for me, but to make the dads feel special, they get to cut it closer to the belly button, so you still get to experience that. And yeah, and after CJ went over there, they allowed him to take a few pictures right there once Mariah was dried off and okay. And then the nurse and CJ came back around to my head and showed me the baby. So during this time, you don't see the baby. Hopefully all you can do is hear the baby cry, but you only get to see her, and you can only move your head to see the baby, which pretty much sucks. You know, I wanted to touch her, I wanted to kiss her, I wanted to be there, but all you can do is really move your head, and you'll probably get like 2 or 3 minutes with her, maybe not even that, before dad takes her, or whoever the partner takes her, and does skin to skin, which is what our wishes were. So CJ and the baby left the room, and then I just laid there and had to get stitched up and everything like that. So nothing hurts. It's all good. It's kind of just annoying just sitting there while your baby's gone. Like, you just want to be with your baby already. So after they stitched me up and I was good to go, they wheel you back into your room. And this is the part that I got like really sick. Like, as they were wheeling me, I just felt like completely out of control, motion sickness. Like, you just feel like crap. So as soon as they parked me back into the room, I saw CJ over there with Mariah on the couch, and everyone was getting ready to like give me the baby and set my chair up, and all the vial just came out again. It was just vial. Is it vial or bile? But it all just came out again. I got sick again. Yeah, and afterwards you just feel really groggy. I believe we tried to nurse Mariah right away, but I don't think it took well. We were trying for a couple of hours before we got a somewhat decent latch that would allow us to keep like breastfeeding. The thing that sucked the most, they probably leave you around alone for like, they're probably in there for like 15 minutes making sure you guys know how to hold the baby, washing the baby, doing like her vitals and stuff like that, and then checking on me and feeding me medication and stuff like that. But after they leave, you probably have like an hour to yourself before they come back and check on you again. And at that point, they open up your gown and they make you lay all the way back in the bed, and they push on your stomach to make sure that everything like is settling okay and your incision looks okay. My God, this was the worst part. This is worse than the IV. This is worse than the Spinal Tap. This hurts. You are kind of like wincing from the pain. I'm not going to say you're like crying, but you are wincing, and it's not pleasurable at all. It's really uncomfortable. It hurts. So you have to have that done like every hour until probably every hour for the rest of the day. And then like, of course, it gets fewer and far in between as you're getting closer to discharge. Also, I should mention that the catheter is in, and I didn't know what a catheter was going to be like, and I thought I would still have to like push to pee almost, or that I would be able to feel it. You don't feel anything. Like, I was like, should I have to push to pee? Like, I really asked a nurse because I couldn't see like my bag, and she was like, she was confused, and then she held up like my pee bag, and it was like full of pee, and I had been peeing the whole time and I had no idea. It was crazy. But yeah, so pushing on the stomach hurt. But then they really were trying to get me up by the afternoon. So we had Mariah at 8:43. We were all settled back. CJ and I and Mariah in the room probably around noon, and probably around 4 or 5 they wanted to have me up and walking. So this is a part that people were like, oh, as soon as you stand up, your organs feel like they're just gonna fall out of your body. It hurts so bad. It does not hurt. It's weird. It's weird trying to regain your muscle again. But if you do everything slowly and gently, nothing is really straining. Nothing really hurt on me, and CJ and I were up and walking around like the pregnancy wing by that afternoon. And then they just say like the more you're walking, the more you're gonna recover. And trust me, after you just like lay in a hospital bed, all I wanted to do was walk. So we were taking walks probably twice a day, 3 times a day, and everything was good. So we got discharged after 3 days, 2 nights, and yeah, I was walking around, and when we're filling out the baby's paperwork, I felt fine, but then I saw another mom who had a C-section, and she was just not having it. So I don't know what happened to her, but I'm telling you, my experience was not bad at all. The part that kind of sucked is the breastfeeding portion. So they gave me Percocet and they gave me ibuprofen to take home, but the problem that we encountered was, even though the Percocets were in my system and I was pain-free, trying to get Mariah to feed while having Percocet run through her system because of my breast milk, it was not working. As soon as she would get on the boob, she would fall asleep because of the drugs that were going through my breast milk. And that's not cool to me, like, at all. So as soon as they told me that, which I think was 1 day after the C-section, I stopped taking Percocet altogether. I was only taking ibuprofen. And that was the best decision for me, because after like 2 or 3 days, the Percocet got out of Mariah's system and we were able to feed better, and she was able to regain some weight, because she did lose a substantial amount of weight, more than normal, after the 2 or 3 days out of the hospital. So after I quit the Percocet, she was able to maintain a latch and she wasn't falling asleep at the boob. So that's also something you want to think about if you're going to have a C-section, or I don't know what they give you for like a vaginal delivery for recovery. But that was a problem that we encountered, was the drugs that were running through my system that went into her. So I quit it cold turkey, went to ibuprofen, and things were bomb.com. Okay, so when we got home, this was probably the part that like suck the most is that do not try and like lay on a bed. I tried to lay on a bed and you can't get up. Like you honestly can't get up. And if you do get up, you feel like your stitches are just like ripping apart. So what was best for me and what we're still doing is we're spending a lot of time on our couch and our recliners just because they're a lot easier for me to get out of, whereas getting completely out of a bed if I'm laying in a bed like this and getting all the way out. So we camped out on the couches for like 1 or 2 weeks. But I was walking around and completely good by 2 weeks probably. I was walking around the first week, but in the afternoons I could really feel that I was overdoing it some days, and you could just feel the incision. You couldn't feel like any pain, you could just feel like it was kind of like raw-ish. But by week 2, I could walk around like all day long and be completely fine. It is week 3 now. I feel like a completely normal person. They tell you to wait till like 6 to 8 weeks. Of course, I'm not doing like intense exercise or anything like that, but I am walking and I am moving around the house as I would normally. No incision pain, nothing like that. A few things I did want to mention because I wrote it all down here. So even though you have a C-section, your vajayjay is still gonna bleed like you had a vaginal birth. Like I didn't know that, I didn't think about that, but when you think about all the blood that you gained during pregnancy and everything that happens to your like your tummy and how your stomach goes up here and organs completely change, everything has to go back to normal size, and that means everything and all the extra blood still has to come out somewhere, and it comes out your vajayjay. So you still have to wear a diaper even though you had a C-section. It's good to know. Also, about the catheter, I was really scared when they were going to take the catheter out that it was going to hurt me and kill me and it was going to be the worst thing ever. You don't even feel it. You don't feel it. And a whole bunch of people tell me that you don't feel like a lot of things, but I feel them. No, you don't feel the catheter at all. I think that's... Oh, and then also, after we got back in the room with Mariah and the nurses and doctors left, I was like extremely itchy. Like I was like itching off my whole face, my body, and they were able to give me some medication through the IV to make that go away. And I guess that's a side effect of one of the medications or the Spinal Tap or something. But yeah, I did get really itchy, but they just said if you do get itchy, let them know, and I did, and they fixed it for me. Okay, so that's just my experience with a C-section. It was a beautiful moment in my life, of course, and everything is settled now and it's all done, but I feel like it really wasn't that bad. So let me know if you have any questions down below, and let me know if you're interested in this series. I think the one I want to do next is about breastfeeding, and I also want to do one about like the insecurities and doubts that I had when I was pregnant, and then actually to becoming a mom and to have interaction with a baby. Because girl, I was so worried when I was pregnant. I was worried I wouldn't have a connection with my baby. I was worried that I wouldn't know what to do, and everything just comes so naturally. So I want to make a video about that. So yeah, let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.